This is your daily briefing, and you are most welcome to it. There isn't, in truth, very much about today, so this will be in two sort of bite-sized parts, if that makes sense. And I really want to draw your attention to a piece in iNews, written by Oliver Young-Miles, and it's really rare, I have to say, to come across a piece which is packed full of fact, information, and it's well written, and this is an uncommon piece of journalism. So I'm always having a pop at people. This guy, absolute bee's knees, very good, more please. And it's covering the Palace game, and he says Tottenham's dismal defeat to Crystal Palace was more than just about injury and quarantine misfortune. And I think, like I said to you, whenever I'm constructing these pieces or articles, generally speaking, I'm thinking of the defence mechanism that'll kick in from our fan base, because our fan base is extraordinarily tolerant, but by the same token, there's an awful lot of apologists that kind of need weeding out and say, oh, you know, but it was really rainy, or it was windy, or whatever it is. That's a sort of childlike snapshot of the sort of thing, but you get the point. But he says here, a trio of Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, Skip and Harry Winks looked unconvincing and incompatible before the game. On the evidence of the match itself, it is a trident that will not be seen again in a hurry. Safety first passing, sloppy touches and sluggish recovery runs defined each of their afternoons. They were everything that Palace's central midfield throwback and the game's standout player, Conor Gallagher, was not. With 4 games played, the numbers don't make for especially encouraging reading for Nuno Spurs. Tottenham rank 14th in the league for goals scored, which is 3, 16th for expected goals, 15th for shots attempted, 18th for chances created, and 5th for shots faced. For the first time in his Premier League career, Harry Kane failed to have a shot on goal or a touch inside the penalty area in a single game, and it was his 248th appearance in the competition. I just want to add to that as well. I mentioned yesterday this business about attacking third passes. Just for gits and shizzles, I looked it up this morning. We didn't even hit double figures, and in the fact, the 2 players that did contribute in that discipline were Lucas Moura and Pierre Højbjerg, and this just tells us so much. It tells us so much. And I have to say, it's going to feel like I'm kicking a man while he's down. But we're going to come on to him, actually, because you wouldn't believe what's been put out. But Dele Alli, I mean, you say, oh, he's a waste of space. Oh, this is criminal what he's getting away with here. And somebody said to me yesterday in one of the comments, which are brilliant, by the way, keep them coming, because they keep the place alive. And as I always said on the blogs, the interesting stuff is downstairs. But the business with Dele Alli is that he has become the embodiment of those kind of journeyman players that never quite made it. And I had a pop at Zaha, because Zaha has earned having a pop at him. And we always go around in this cycle of things where he's looking for a pay bump, you know, just as his contract's expiring. Oh, I might go to Tottenham. Oh, I might go to... And I despise the phrase lazy journalism, but it's the agents use a little bit of this with the papers, and they're happy to fill the column inches and put it out there. But there's the list of footballers that are kind of nearly men. I mean, Watford... in fact, let's not even worry about the teams. Look at players that Tottenham have discarded over the years who didn't quite make it. We talked them up to death, but they didn't get anywhere close to making it. Little bit of dabbling with playing for England, and then that tapered out. And tipped with a move for here, never actually materialised. And you're looking at the likes of Livermore, Huddleston, Aaron Lennon, Eric Dyer, Harry Winks. The list is quite tragic, and Dele Alli has fallen into this category. He's a guy who kind of was on the right trajectory, and then things just didn't go sour, but they just kind of fizzled out. And the idea that he's not contributing in that area, and people are then, I say, these apologists, this business, oh yeah, but he covered a lot of ground. I'm not interested. It's like saying a painter painted 10 rooms. I'm interested in the quality of the paint job. I'm not interested in how many yards he managed to smash out during the afternoon. Anyway, so, and Oliver concludes here, there are mitigating factors, and Nuno needs time to rebuild his team that was underperforming long before he arrived. But as it stands, Tottenham are a team that struggles to create goal-scoring chances and gives up plenty of them. When that combination becomes the norm rather than the exception, afternoons like Saturday are grimly inevitable. And the problem we have here, and I touched upon it before, so I'm trying to not repeat myself the whole time here, but this talk of a rebuild, this is just a myth. It's a word people use, and I talk about this as well because I have this thing with the corruption of language, and it's people saying, oh, I don't think that's appropriate. That's just telling you to be quiet, and I'm not going to give you a reason why other than I feel uncomfortable. Well, who gives a damn how you feel? I'm talking to you. Just because it's not appropriate in your mind, oh diddums. But this business of the rebuild, how does the rebuild manifest itself, and to what purpose is the rebuild? Those are the questions that you need to be asking. Oh yeah, rebuilding. We brought Bryan Gil in from Seville, and we've got this goalkeeper, and he's going to be. This is like Lucky Charms. This is like hope, and it's just, yes, they're young and they could come through. But then you have, like I say, you have to question everything. And are they going to come through so we can win something? Because that's the metric in professional sport. If it isn't, we need to go around every golf course in the country and fill the holes in. I know it sounds preposterous, but that's the reality of the situation. If it isn't about winning, if it is about a nice walk and knocking the ball around. But Nuno's rebuilding, and I question that that's even on the agenda. Rebuilding to what extent? If we were truly rebuilding, we'd be looking at replacing players that have gone and enhancing situations, places that need to be tweaked, need to be improved. And that's not happened. We've got no creative playmaker. We're sticking with Dele Alli and hoping, despite the fact he's now playing, as I say, in this very loose role. I mean, I showed you his heat map yesterday. It had no bloody heat to it. And we'll wrap up on Alli, because this is his words being used by a newspaper. So this isn't really aimed at him as such. But again, it's highlighting. I guess this. I could have thought this out better and said to you, I've got some really good journalism and I've got some dreadful journalism. And the Express, which I just can't recommend to you enough to avoid. And it goes through this thing. He had a rocky relationship with Tottenham's starting 11, went to being one of Mourinho's regulars to becoming an outcast, which is fundamentally, it's an exaggeration to no good purpose, waning into the of being a lie. The midfielder has looked back to his best this season under Nuno Espirito Santo and has played every single Premier League minute so far during the new campaign. Well, the business about playing every single minute might be true. I can't be bothered to look it up. But back to his best. By what metrics? He now looks to be at the peak of his fitness, but this didn't appear to be the case under Mourinho. And I put this in here. Mourinho got absolute pelters from a lot of people who were utterly uninformed. And the deal with being a football manager, and I think this goes back to, was it Souness and Shankly or something, and said, oh, what do you want me to do, boss? And he said, well, I've just paid £300,000 for you. I presume you know what to do. Football managers aren't there to shine up bags of coal into diamonds. That's not their job. Their job is not to take somebody like me who's overweight and would probably die if he had to run around his garden 3 times and turn me into an athlete. The manager's job is to bring a group of talented players together with some sense of harmony and direction, and use his experience and tactical wherewithal to mount a challenge to win things, because that's the metric. So the players, we got this thing with Mourinho that he wasn't training them. He was only focusing on the defending. He wasn't focusing on the attacking. Well, I might remind you that our defence was bloody awful under Mourinho, as we saw yesterday. Our defence was shocking, and it needed work doing on it because he couldn't get a tune out of them. And Eric Dyer didn't know what he was. He didn't know if he was a centre midfielder. He didn't know what he was. But we had Kane and Sonny scoring more goals and creating more assists than ever before, because they didn't need to be coached. They had drive and talent. Dele Alli says, I didn't feel I was where I should be. I've always prided myself on my fitness levels, long distance, and being able to maintain stamina for a long time. He's just talking to a newspaper or something he's put on his Tinder profile. I knew it's something I needed to improve on coming off the end of last season. I wanted to make sure I was fit and ready to go. What we have here is the fact that he got dropped because he was useless, because he wouldn't train efficiently. He wasn't showing enough commitment, so he got dropped from the first team. And it started off nicely with, are you Dele or are you Dele's brother? He turned into Dele's brother, dropped off, and he let himself go. And it's the same with so many players. They don't play and they can't be bothered to keep themselves fit. That's their job and not the job of a manager. The manager isn't there to wander around slapping the back of their hands and saying, put those crisps down. It's not what a manager does. So we've got Dele Alli propaganda and somebody who actually understands the game. And unfortunately, Oliver Young-Miles is in the minority these days. So Spurs have wiped out all the good that they created in their first few games. And that's what 1-0 victories leave you open to, leave you vulnerable to. And we've got Rennes in the Europa Woolworths Intertoto Challenge, Mickey Mouse, Papa John's Cup or whatever it is. And then we've got Chelsea. And I will be fascinated to see how we fare in both of those games. Long term, or should we say medium term, I don't think Nuno's future looks too bright. And he must be wondering to himself how he manages to turn this ship around when he's only got the same deckhands that the last two guys had. Because Romero isn't going to come back fit and ready to go. They've sent a sports science guy out and a physio. That guy with two players in isolation, they're not going to achieve anything that's meaningful. Anyway, I've gone on. So next up, under the lights in Europe, against a team that aren't sensational. And I'll be interested to see if Nuno goes with his best 11 again, or he goes with what he's been doing so far in the competition and giving the youngsters a chance. Good luck, keep it on.